So a few days ago, Beamer failed an MOT. Failed on the front near side control arm, the rear of the two, because the Beamer's got two on. One of the joints, bellows split there. So I've replaced both on the near side, and we'll replace both on the off side now. So I'll show you what I've done. So that's the front of the two, obviously sits there, and then just behind it, that's the rear one. That's the one that actually failed. Apologies for the bad camera work. So yeah, first things first, basically best thing to do to make this job as easy as possible, if you get a set of ramps, get your car onto the ramps just to get the front end up. And then if you get a low profile trolley jack and get it onto the jacking point, because you won't reach it otherwise without the front end being lifted up, then you can get the front end up, get it on some axle stands. It makes it a lot easier because you have to turn it one way or another just to get access either side. Obviously if you've got one wheel on the floor, it just makes the job a lot harder. So I'll try and video it as best as I can. Obviously I ain't got my stand with me, so I'll be doing it by hand. So cowling's off now, cover. As you can see, that's the bolt. So what I didn't mention is I've actually, just about to see it's wet, I put some penetrating spray just on all the nuts, left it for half an hour or so, maybe an hour or so now with this, just to help get them nuts off, just so you gives you a bit of help with it, because obviously I don't think these have ever been replaced. Bear in mind the car's 20 odd years old now, so just to help you with any rust, dirt build up, etc. So the rear control arm bolted to the body here and just on the other side, that's just an 18mm bolt head with nut. Obviously then you've got your 21mm T40, and then the front arm, if I can get to it, it's just a straight bolt 18mm, which actually sits into, it's not a captivated nut, but it's a nut that's held on, so you don't have to worry about getting it on the back of that. And then again, that comes down, that sits underneath with, again, a 21mm and a T40 bit. So same as the near side with the off side. Best thing you could do, take this cowling off, this cover, it's the sun, which is a 10mm there, and the rest are just 8mm. So that's sunlight dotted about, and there's a couple underneath. And then you'll need, I mean I'm using old Whitworth spanners, but you'll need a 21mm and two 18mm spanners, preferably sockets as well. I've got breaker bar, small impact, ratchet, and then you'll need a Torx 40 bit just to hold, where are they? Just to hold just inside, not that one, just inside here. So obviously once you can get it loose to a certain point, you've cleaned it up as well, but eventually it'll just start spinning, so you need a Torx bit on that. So got 18mm, trying to do it with one hand, I've loosened it slightly. So just breaker bar, so just get that moving, and then hopefully this moves. $21mm. crack that off. If you've got an impact gun, a pneumatic one should help get it down quite a bit before it starts all spinning. But if not, break a bar, and then you'll get to a point where it'll all just start spinning. So you'll have to get your T40 bit, 21mm spanner to drop it on the ring, bit inside with a ratchet, just hold it opposite and then just take it off and it'll pop out, which I'll show you in a minute. Oh, it's quite fortunate there actually. Managed to use my small impact gun and it just came off. It started spinning slightly, but there was enough torque in the gun just to get the nut off at the same time. So I'll pop this out in a minute. Obviously it's a bush, so it's slightly sprung loaded, so as soon as I move this back it will pop up slightly. I'll get that nut out, take that out, and then I'll go for the second one and just do them at the same time. So bolts out, nuts off that, so that's free to pop out. So now just gotta try and feed this down. Bit of force, job as a fish. Right, now to the next one. Right guys, couldn't video it, sorry, because I needed both hands with the spanners, plus this was in the way. I mean, you can take that off, but there's about 20 bolts and I just honestly can't be bothered. Managed to get it off, so that's all loose. I just have to push the bolt out. Two 80mm spanners, just stick a ring on this side, held it, and then a normal spanner. You can get a ratchet in, obviously if you take this cowling off, will make life easier, but for the time it takes to take that cowling off, it took me an extra 30 seconds probably. Like I said though, you really need to get your car up in the air on the front end, because I've had to turn this wheel about 3 times just from doing these 2 control arms, and I haven't finished yet. And obviously if you've only got one wheel up at a time, you're going to make life very difficult for yourself. So the bottom control arm, that nut is off, and then this one is off. So get the spanner out of the way. So get this bolt out. So I'm going to put it in the opposite way. So drive shaft, steering arms there, not drive shaft, sorry. Right, so I'll get that out in a minute, so I think I'll have to move something else. But I'll have a look and let you know if I do. And then I'll pull this out of the bottom. Right, got it, eventually. So that was a bit more awkward than the other side. But I think the other side may have been replaced before, because the bolt was the opposite way round. So it was actually catching on here on the bellows. So I thought I was going to have to take this out of the way, lift it up, but thankfully, like I said before, I've twisted this back this side and it's actually lifted this and just gave me enough clearance to wiggle it out. But I will be putting the bolt in from this side through to this side next time, as you've got lots of space on that side, and obviously BMW being BMW, they try and make life difficult for you. But we got there. So both arms are out, and there's the new arms. I can't remember the brand, to be honest with you, but they are nice and new, and they will last me the next few years at least, until I probably get rid of the car. So time to fit. Right, so there's the bolts. Obviously got these slot inside your hub covers. So what I've done, it's completely up to you if you do this. It's probably not necessary, but I put a tiny bit of copper grease on the bolts. It's just the shafts, not the threads, because I don't want the nuts to come off at all. But sure, I need to take them off again. I just don't want them to rust in place. Hopefully I don't have to take them off again, but it's just something I do. So next thing, I'll get the rear, the smaller one, up first, just because I've got less access, and then I'll get the large bad boy, and then I'll show you what I do before I tighten them. Got the rear arm in, bolts loose. I'll nip that just so it's not really tight, and I'll explain why in a minute. Right guys, so next we've got the front control arm. So what you want to do is drop this in like so. There we go. Put the nut on. Where are you? Somewhere like that. Just loose, and then try and do it with one hand. Again, you can take this cowling off if you want, but I can't be bothered. To say now, which I probably should have done, but and slide it in. So then we get the bolt. Make sure the hole's lined up. So just make sure the hole's lined up. Bolt in, and then nip that up, finger tight again. And I'll tighten this side so that's all secure, and then I'll show you next. Right, so this bolt's all the way in, just not tight. Same, this bolt, if it zooms, that's, you can't really see it. It's not tight anyway. Trying to show you the spanner. So that's loose. So what you want to do, obviously you've got that, it's quite a large bush. That quite a reasonable rubber bush. So before you get so excited and torque everything up and give yourself a pat on the back, if you torque them up now, drop the car down, that bush and that bush will be under strain straight away, which might not have any issues, might be fine, but you might find it wears the bush out or fails not long after fitting because of the amount of extra stress you're putting on it. So what you want to do is get the wheels straight again, get your jack. I'll try and line this up, and you want to put it on the new control arm just at the bottom. Just watch the brakes. Right, got it. So just be careful that you're not going to come off the axle stand and your suspension actually goes up. So what you want to do is you want to jack that control arm so your suspension goes up, into your wheel is somewhere around normal ride height. Doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, I'm coming off the actual stand there, so we'll leave it there. Imagine the wheels on. Let's see, wheels on. You're about roughly neutral to where you would be if you were driving. So now, tighten them up, tighten that up, torque them up, and then you can drop it back down, and then everything's done. Put the cowlings back on, near side, off side, wheels back on, nipped up, and then get the car on the floor. So just got the cover back in. It is quite fiddly, I'm not going to lie. I think the best way I found was if you get the bottom in first, sort of line it up, pull this part right down out of the way, and then you sort of have to fiddle it and slide it so that all these are in the right place. But it does go, it's a bit fiddly and there's quite a lot of stuff about, so obviously just watch your eyes and that.